Welcome to Bike World, welcome to Portugal, welcome to the launch of Yamaha's XSR900 GP. Now I think I'm slightly offended by the staff at Bike World because they've sent me on the launch of this bike because I'm the oldest member of the team. Because yes, I am old enough to remember bikes like this in the late 80s and early 90s. Now I'm not old enough to remember riding them at that time, but when I started riding bikes, they were the bikes I could afford. TZR250, FZ600, FZ750, FZR1000, they were the bikes that I owned. They were the bikes that I was passionate about. They were the bikes I loved. And then on TV, I was watching those kind of early 90s GP when Yamaha just dominated everything. And then I followed that by buying road bikes that looked like the race bikes. And that's what that does. What's quite cool about this trip is we've got Mackenzie up there. That is 500 GP riding Neil Mackenzie, 3 times BSB champion. Was he with Capri's Boost? So what's quite nice, apart from this being a kind of design exercise, you could say, we've got the fully integrated big TFT dash, and Yamaha have put a mobile phone, already set it up for us because they don't trust us with mobile phones, so they put the mobile phone underneath the seat, and now I've got full sat nav on the dash, which is not quite neat, quite nice. Bluetooth connectivity should I want it. I mean, I don't really particularly, but it's all good. And then if I press the screen, that button on there for a few seconds, go back to a normal dash, press it again, back to the sat nav. It's quite cool. Just go to a junction, quick press, see where I want to go, back to the bib rave counter. So this is the famous Estoril race circuit right next to the motorway. So this was kind of like the home of MotoGP in Portugal. This was the main track. A lot of brilliant races at this track. I've ridden it twice, I think, maybe 3 times. Fast, really long straight, big right-hander onto the straight, if I remember rightly as well. But yeah, so basically I don't think we're going to get the chance to do super fast laps. I think it's more of a chance to safely test the parameters of the bike, or something like that anyway. But it is bloody cool to come to a cool track like this. Oh, just the history here. It's cool. So that's the standard model, completely stock. That's how you get it from the showroom, just over 12 grand, £120 a month on PCP. This has got some accessories like the full race exhaust, the belly pan and the tank protection and the tail tidy. Now, there is a full exhaust from a Kropovic, but it is road legal, so you're not going to wake the neighbours every time you start it. The standard bike, that is a stunner. I think that is a beautiful, beautiful looking bike. Don't know about the exhaust, is my only niggle, but the rest of it is a stunner. And we're here in Estoril to have some fun, basically. We're going to have a road ride this afternoon, and then we're going to just have a bit of fun in controlled conditions, apparently. So we're not going to be racing, we're not going to be doing full laps, we're just going to be having some fun. So let's turn off that anti-wheelie and just go have some fun. I don't want to really bore you with specs and details and all that information, which I'll come on to shortly, don't worry about. But just look at it, just look at that. It looks like a bike from the early 90s. It looks like the bikes that I used to ride when I had hair and I was thin. and I had no cares and no worries and no mortgage. It was an awesome time. Right, don't get me going on that though. Sorry, I got a bit carried away there. So let's get through some figures and facts. It's basically based on the XSR900, which I've ridden in many incarnations, which I rated really highly. I rated it so highly, I was almost tempted to buy one. And then I remembered that I'm a tight northerner and I didn't. So to put fancy bodywork on an XSR900, you're not really going to go far wrong. But it's not just cosmetic tweaks. Suspension's completely different. So this has kind of got next generation KYB suspension. Fully adjustable front, fully adjustable rear, but now we've got high and low speed compression. And the settings are completely different to a normal XSR. Because your body weight is further forward, they've had to stiffen up the front, and because there's more weight over the front, you can actually reduce the stiffness in the rear. So it's a completely different suspension with different springs, with more adjustment, with high and low compression, with a stiffer front and a softer rear. And that's just the chassis. Also, the clocks compared to the XSR and this model is more in line with the new MT09. So this has got beautiful TFT clocks, new switchgear, multiple rider aids. This has got a 6-axis IMU with slide control, traction control, cornering ABS, lift control, some new engine brake strategy. If I could fly back to magical late 90s when I was riding a TZR 250 and FZ 600s, and I could imagine that you had something called cornering ABS, it'd have blown my mind. But that's what it's got, and that's what its purity. That's what bikes have these days. And to be honest, even though the switchgear is pretty informative and the clocks are pretty informative, all I've done is turn off the lift control for obvious reasons and left everything else alone. There's multiple rider modes, which is sport, street, and rain. I've kind of left it just in the street version. Sport was a little bit eager for me, but I thought it was the same on the XSR, and I think it's the same when you go to the most advanced mode on other Yamahas. I actually prefer the throttle position and the throttle mode to be a little bit less. Bridgestone 23s on this model because it's a new model for 24. Interestingly, I rode on the Bridgestone 23 launch in South Africa last year, and that's a 3 compound rear and a single compound front. This is just 1 compound front, 1 compound rear. So the special BT23 is just for this model. And then you've slightly longer wheelbase. You've obviously got a different riding position, slightly more over the front, but not as radical as you might imagine. So today we had the prospects of local roads, following the coast, looking at amazing surf. Why do Yamaha keep bringing me to surf sports? Not let me go surfing! Going to Estoril, having a bit of a play. We didn't actually get to do some fast laps of Estoril, which I'm pretty gutted about, but we did get the opportunity to flick it through some corners, do some wheelies in perfect safety, just have a bit of fun and test the bike in a safe environment, apparently. And then we had a bit more of a road ride, looking at more surf. To be honest, the road ride has not been the best road ride I've ever had. I don't think I'm going to be writing home saying, hey guys, you've really got to come and ride Portugal, because the roads that we had a lot of traffic, a lot of bumps, and it wasn't the best. For me personally, if I was going to do that road again, I'd just open up the suspension a bit, give me a little bit of comfort. And towards the end, we did, I think it was like nearly 200 kilometers. My wrists were just starting to hurt a bit. My arse was just starting to move around a bit. It's not as radical as an R6. It's not as radical as any of the bikes in the kind of early 90s. It's not even as radical as an R7. So it is kind of sports, but not a sports bike. And equally, Yamaha don't label it as a sports bike. This is not a bike that you're going to take to a track. Although at Estoril, it wasn't so bad. I think if you took it on track, you'd have to add a bit of preload. I think the pegs would start touching, and it is quite long and it is quite slow steering. That gives it stability, and it's pretty good on brakes, but it is kind of, I wouldn't say lethargic, it's just predictable and nice and flowing. So Yamaha have very kindly closed a bit of road for us, which is nice. Not the grippiest and smoothest of roads. Oh. But when they close the road, I just hear the word hill climb. Oh, big bump. Another big bump. Where the hell does it go? God, it's this. Oh, ABS is working. That's fun. Can we do it again? So all in all, for Yamaha to put retro bodywork on a bike that I already think is an excellent bike was going to be a no-brainer. The road today hasn't been perfect. It's not really shown what the bike is capable of. Just a tad too firm but this road is not the best because there's a lot of tree roots. You can feel them when you're going through. And I think on a more flowing road, like if we was in Ronda in southern Spain, or if we're on the Isle of Man, or up in Scotland in the UK, some open roads in North Yorkshire, this is just going to be beautiful, flowing, easy handling, smooth, great engine, loads of power, loads of torque. We've got 117 horsepower, 68 foot-pounds of torque or 93 newton meters. It's everything you want in a perfect road bike. A thing you can't evaluate and a thing you can't kind of summarise is that open the garage door feeling. You know, that feeling when you open the garage door and you see that. And that means a lot to me. I really, really like that. That kind of feeling of parking it somewhere and just sitting back and just admiring it and going, that's a cool bike. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of that retro, iconic era. I guess it depends on your age and what you were riding at the time, because some of my friends were just Suzuki fans and some were Yamaha fans. For me, I grew up riding Yamahas, and for me, that ticks a lot of boxes. I can almost forgive that the indicators are a little bit awkward. I can almost forgive that it's a little bit uncomfortable now I'm no longer 20. And I can almost forgive the fact that it doesn't have an end can, which is a bit weird. But what it does have is the capability of making me smile. It has the capability, even without riding it, I could walk into the garage and smile. That is a stunning bike. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I can see Yamaha dealers in the UK lapping it up, because that is just £12,500 in the UK or £120 a month on PCP. Hope I've entertained you. Sorry I'm old and sorry I remember the 90s, but if you can imagine me with hair and thinner, better looking, with no worries, that was kind of basically what it was like. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, don't forget to subscribe and I'll try and answer you below. See you on the next one. I don't know if this is good or bad that all the kids love motorbikes. You do that in English school, you get arrested.